Hello to anyone watching and welcome to number 3 of the Europe vlogs. This was our last morning in Venice and another early start for us. The first thing on our list was the traditional gondola ride. Leah had managed to book this excursion for us at one of the earliest slots possible, which meant that we were the second gondola to set off into the canals that morning. Because of that, we actually managed to avoid lots of the heat that would come later in the day and also all the tourists that would flock to these gondolas just like we had. The pathways as well were quite empty compared to the previous day that we had been in Venice. It's usually completely filled everywhere.
Hello there!
Venice. Yay!
I have water.
I'm adjusting my jumpsuit. It just goes like this. We're going to pastry shop.
And then the gondola.
And then gondola.
The gondola ride was beautiful and peaceful and probably one of my top 3 moments of this whole trip. Like most people, I had this picture in my mind of what I thought it would be like to go on one, but the reality is that it's actually quite scary to get on one for the first time, and there is lots to think about in terms of balance, and even just watching someone handle this beautiful craftsmanship. This experience will be something that stays in a more permanent part of my memory. I think back to that time, and even though it's been almost a year later, I can still just picture it so clearly of how everything shined on the water and how the breeze was so soft it hardly disturbed anything. And yes, that sounds quite poetic, but it's true. And I don't think I'll ever forget that first moment when the gondola appeared from the canals into the Grand Canal, and it was both terrifying and exhilarating. Terrifying because the waters got a little bit harsher, and exhilarating because the view was something I couldn't get from walking down a pathway next to a building. It was just truly stunning. When our time was over, I held on tightly to the hand the gondolier offered so I wouldn't lose my balance and made it onto dry land without embarrassing myself. With that bucket list item checked, we headed on over to St. Mark's Square. Now, I know most everyone who goes to Venice would actually go into the Basilica or up to the Bell Tower, but we decided to save our money since we were going to be on this trip for so long, and it was actually the smartest choice. We admired the architecture for some time and then headed over to a bookstore I had heard of and was super anxious to see.
Walking in an alley in Italy.
This is fun.
Yeah!
Libreria Acqua Alta, which I believe translates to high water bookstore. At this bookstore, they had books everywhere. They had walls made of them, they had a gondola filled with them. They also had steps made out of waterlogged ones. The ones that make up the steps at the back of the store lead to a view of the canals right behind it. We didn't end up spending much time in there. I think a few of us grabbed a couple souvenirs, said hello to some of the resident cats, and then made our way back outside and to look for some food. We stumbled across some gelato that Leah and Naomi enjoyed, and I was also on the hunt for some sandals and a new bag because the strap to the bag I was using snapped. You'll find this to be a common occurrence throughout my trip in Europe. We ended up finding a bag for me to carry all my things in, and then we started walking over to the Rialto Bridge. I had thought that there was way too many tourists in St. Mark's Square, but if you ever go to the Rialto Bridge, believe me, there will be more people there. Any little gaps in pedestrian traffic was when we would stop and take some pictures. But we did make our way across the bridge, walked a little bit more, and then finally said goodbye to Venice as it was time for us to go back to the cruise ship. That evening we had our very first dinner in the dining room and met the 2 servers who would take care of us this whole trip. Every single one of us fell in love with them. They were so nice and so gracious and just very easy to get along with. After our delicious meal, the 4 of us ladies decided to not go to any of the entertainment for the night, but instead to spend it up on one of the decks and to enjoy the sunset and also just seeing Venice pass us by. Then I enjoyed using Naomi as my guinea pig while I used the slow motion feature on my videos. And then I just couldn't resist and I asked the two best friends to have a cheesy little jump video, which came out really cute. But of course, everything good must come to an end, just like this video. As always, I hope you have enjoyed watching this one. For the next one, we'll be arriving at a new country. We will be exploring the lovely parts of Split in Croatia. And now I don't think there's anything much more to say except I hope you guys have a great day or evening wherever you are, as always.